Hey, everybody. Welcome to Just Start the Podcast. And I'm your host, Andre, the owner of A1 Podcasting and Content Creation. My goal with this podcast is to help those people out there who are afraid to start for whatever reason it is. Fear, lack of knowledge, or any reason that you can pull out of the air. I want to do what I can to help those people to create, because I feel like that's my purpose, to create and help others create. That's what I've been put on this earth to do. So that's my goal. A little bit about me is that I've been podcasting for the past 5 years. I host a podcast with my two friends called the Opinionated Podcast. That particular podcast is very different from what I have going on here. This one is more of a encouraging, educational mindset podcast. It's targeted for a different crowd. I learned a lot of things doing that podcast over the years. I did the logos from start to finish. I did the, at one time, background music. I did the social media. I designed the post. I made clips to go on social media and promote. Wow. It's weird trying to go step by step with this. I've learned something from my 5 years of podcasting. And even if it's not to the level of Joe Budden or to the level of Joe Rogan, I believe that I have something to offer the beginner podcaster or the beginner content creator. So that's what this podcast is going to be about. Hopefully in the future, we're going to have some guests that can discuss how they got started and then can help those people. I'm talking about entrepreneurs. I'm talking about business owners. I'm talking about podcasting. Pretty much whatever profession seems to be interesting to my fan base. So this podcast is going to be about that. So I'm going to pause in this episode right here and let you know that I had a checklist prepared. And I went down that checklist and I was reading off that checklist and trying to stay on topic, because I tend to go off topic and use a lot of ums and ahs. And I just couldn't do it. It came off real stiff. It came off it's really against my podcasting style. And we'll go over podcasting styles in a later episode, but I'm more of just a talker. I'm a free thought talker. Some of my favorite business owners / podcasters, Bedros Keuilian, which, I'll definitely promote his stuff because he's helped me a lot. Tom Bilyeu. They're very prepared and very these guys are business owners. These guys are millionaires who started podcasting to help people and kind of promote their coaching. And I watch them and they're so professional. They speak so well and they're message driven, and the way they deliver their message, it hits you in the heart. And I just couldn't do that by reading out of this book that I have. I couldn't do that. I was trying and I just couldn't do it. So I'm just going to talk. And however the podcast goes, I'm going to try to give you some tips and some tricks as I go along. So as you listen to this podcast, because I will be coming out with this podcast every week, I just want you to gain whatever you can from it. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have some laughs. If you know anything about my previous podcast, then you know this is very different. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to try not to curse because I do that very heavily on my other podcast. And you almost have to play a character sometimes when you're podcasting. It's not that you have to be anybody different than who you are, but you kind of have to know when to step in, especially when you're working with multiple people. You have to learn when to step in and add some color, or step in when somebody's really dragging on with a story and make a joke. You have to know when not to make a joke. You have to know when to be quiet and just let that person get their story out. So I'm going to be going over all that kind of stuff. So if you're a beginner and you just want to know, hey, where do I start? This is going to be the perfect podcast for you. This is going to be the one where you go back to and say, okay, what did Andre say? Wow, okay, that hits. Or, man, Andre was way off with that one. Let me send them a comment on his Instagram page, A1 Podcasting and Content Creation, and let them know, hey, man, I tried that. It didn't work. Do you have anything else? Or, hey, man, I tried that. it didn't work, but I tried this other thing that really worked, because what I really want to do is build a community of people who help each other. I'm not charging anybody for any of this stuff. This is just what I know. My wife asked me the other day, man, she really doesn't understand why I'm doing this. Because, you know, I'm at this point, I'm an amateur podcaster that just been doing it for a while. And she asks, like, you know, so what qualifies you? Okay, I guess that's what this episode is going to be about. What qualifies me to tell people how to do something? And no, I haven't went to school. It's not that I'm not going to take any classes or anything, but I've studied up trying to get my podcast off the ground. And, you know, we have thousands of views, and that's great. The biggest thing is you're going to have to do a couple things if you want your views to be up there where, you know, it really gets you smiling and it really gets you, it really gets your message out. So the biggest thing I told her is, like, I can tell people what not to do, you know, because I got a whole lot of experience doing that. But in doing podcasting for 5 years, you know, I've learned a little something. I've, you know, read up on things, read articles, read, you know, books. I got a bunch of books here that I can show you guys as we go along, if you're on YouTube, or tell you about if you're listening on Spotify or any other streaming platform. I can tell you about them, and at least we can discuss them. You know what I mean? I can tell you why a clip worked. Because guess what? There's a lot of people who are going to listen to this who never had a clip that hit a couple million. I've had a clip that hit a couple million. It wasn't mine, but I can tell you how eventually we got a clip to hit a couple million on Instagram. I can tell you how we got a clip, or I got a clip to hit a couple 100,000, which for people who aren't really known, a couple 100,000 on a clip, it's pretty hard to do. And I have the insight on that because I've done that. I've done that single-handedly. That was me. So I can actually give you those types of, I'm trying to cut the uhs and the ums. See, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm not Bedros Keuilian and those guys. If you get a chance, check out their podcasts. Their podcasts are great. Gets me going through my work day. Check those guys out. But it gets me going, and I really like listening to them. But anyway, see, I lost my train of thought, so I'm gonna have to reel it back in. This will happen. But yeah, man, we're just going to go through, like, this might be a weird first episode, but I just couldn't read out of that book, man. And this is just not going to be a stiff podcast. That's not how I podcast. Different styles might include you reading, you know, that you might be great at that. You might be great. I can't infuse my personality into reading. So I'm just going to have to pick a topic, dance along that topic as I do, give you the nuggets, give you the information, and we're going to keep it nice and loose. But I'm also going to mix in some mindset, okay? Because mindset is very important, right? So I'm going to give you a bunch of stuff that's going to help you out, you know, a bunch of stuff, man. The stuff that I wish I had over my 5 years. And I'm going to tell you the reason why I decided to start this movement and this company that I'm starting, or that I've started, A1 Podcasting and Content Creation. Over my 5 years of podcasting, I've had friends who know that I podcast. Why? Because I promote my podcast. That's what I'm supposed to do. I promote what I do. And they see it. They haven't started yet. So they see me and they ask me, hey, man, what do I do to get started? I'm trying to start this podcast. What equipment do I need? Because we tried to do it on my phone. It didn't work out the way I liked it. It didn't look like you guys. What can I do? And at this point, I've been doing it for a couple years, so I got something to say. So 5 years in, I finally got a call from a family member and a couple of guys that I went to school with. And, you know, they wanted to help. They wanted my help. And I love helping. I really do love helping. It's the one thing I like to do. I like to teach what I know because, man, if somebody taught me, I would be way farther along. So I like to do that. And it got to the point where, you know, I'm on the phone for 4 hours, which, you know, I don't mind because I can talk my butt off. I'm on the phone for 4 hours and I'm explaining this stuff and I'm loving this stuff. And I'm just thinking, like, man, I wonder how many other people would benefit from the little tips and the little tricks that are condensed. Not something that you have to go to YouTube video to YouTube video to YouTube video for, but something that's all about beginning and starting and what you need to start and the things that aren't important to start, whatever it is. And the mindset too. Because for all the things that I tell these people to do, they'll take it in and then not do it. So I really want to connect with people and give them that information on top of starting my company, A1 Podcasting and Content Creation, where, I mean, that's a whole new ball of worms. Looking to get a facility, looking to get a studio where we can have classes, we can, shoot podcasts and just help people on a more hands-on scale. So look out for that because that's coming soon. But this is going to be the start. So if you're into anything that I was talking about today, we're really going to get into that. We're going to have a lot more focused episodes as time goes on. I just wanted to give you a quick dose of what we got. So, I hope you guys tune in and I hope you enjoy because it's going to get better from here. We're going to get some people on. I know some people. And let me just give you a little bit more before I get off. I know a lot of people. Okay. I know a lot of people who have things going on in the industry. Shout out to Vinny Potestivo, who has a podcasting conference, used to be an executive at MTV. He, I believe, really liked the movement that we had with the Opinionated Podcast. And to me personally, I think that when it comes to talking about relationships and women you slept with and, those issues, it doesn't necessarily connect on a bigger scale, but helping people will always trump that. So yes, I interviewed him on the Opinionated Podcast and that was great. But when we have him on Just Start, the podcast, and we discuss, hey, how to get things going. Cause I believe he also has a podcasting platform. So when we really get into all that, and I can really help you guys, from somebody who, is further along than me, that's what I'm getting into. So yeah, stay tuned because we're really going to turn it up. We're really going to have a good time. I hope to see you guys out there in the future. So this is October 11th, 2023. And we're officially starting this off. So man, it's going to be interesting to look back a year from now and see where we're at. So, that's the first episode. And, I hope you enjoyed my ramblings. I hope you got something from what I said. And, we're just going to have a good time. So, remember to follow me on social media, A1 Podcasting and Content Creation. Or if you want to follow my personal page, Andre A1. YouTube up now. So I'm going to upload this and, it's going to be great. I'm doing all this by myself. This is only me. I'm doing the mixing. I'm doing the video. I'm doing the distribution through whoever I decide to distribute from. I'm doing the social media campaigns. This is all me. So yeah. So check me out. Hopefully I can connect with you guys. All right. I guess I'm supposed to say something like have an A1 day, but I won't. We'll figure out an outro soon.